Welcome to The Explainer. If you're a C-suite executive, an energy professional, or anyone steering the strategic direction of an energy firm right now, you are exactly in the right place. Today, we're unpacking a highly critical piece of market intelligence, specifically focusing on a framework called energy yield attribution. Okay, let's dive into this, because the stakes in the energy sector have literally never been higher, and we need to get our strategy perfectly aligned with reality.
To really grasp why this matters right this second, we've got to look at the sheer scale of the market. According to recent data from the IEA, global investment in grid-scale storage and renewable assets just blasted past an astonishing $400 billion for 2025. That is a massive amount of capital flowing into the sector. And look, with that kind of money comes incredibly intense competition for industrial contracts. The market is moving lightning fast, and the pressure to acquire customers efficiently is just immense.
Which actually brings us to the core tension we're going to resolve today. I want you to ask yourself, is your marketing actually aligned with the physical grid? It sounds kind of strange at first, right? But right now, there's a massive disconnect between the physical, nuts and bolts reality of grid assets and the disconnected traditional marketing metrics that most executives are still using to measure success.
So to fix this, we'll move through 5 key areas today: the marketing disconnect, the 9-to-1 valuation trap, the 61% buyer reality, energy yield attribution explained, and finally, your implementation framework.
Let's start with part 1, the marketing disconnect and the systemic flaw behind it all.
The big problem we're facing is that customer acquisition expenditure has completely detached from actual energy asset performance. Standard marketing ROI models measure financial inputs versus outputs, sure, but they completely ignore the time of use value of a contract relative to grid demand. Think about it for a second. A lead generated during a low marginal cost period is fundamentally less valuable than a lead captured during periods of high grid stress. If your marketing dashboard ignores marginal emission factors, the actual carbon intensity of the grid at the exact time of generation, you are looking at a totally incomplete financial picture.
Moving to part 2, the 9-to-1 valuation trap. Now, what's really interesting about this next concept is how it exposes exactly where your capital is bleeding.
9-to-1. This is a stark, capital-burning ratio that should make absolutely any executive pause. This 9-to-1 ratio represents a critical imbalance in current energy marketing spend across the entire sector. Let's break down exactly what this means and why it's actively chewing through your budget.
The valuation trap basically happens when an energy firm throws $9 at generic awareness campaigns for every $1 of incremental first-year lifetime value they actually get back. $9 out, just $1 back in the short term. Ouch. This happens because firms target broad interest instead of focusing on specific, high-yield signals, the exact kind of market intelligence you'd pull from platforms like Bloomberg NEF. By ignoring those signals, your customer acquisition costs just vastly outpace your first-year returns. So why is this happening? Why are traditional tactics failing so spectacularly here?
That brings us to part 3, the 61% buyer reality and the shift toward independent research.
You see, procurement in the energy sector today is run by highly data-literate professionals. And here's the vital stat. 61% of their research is done completely independently. They are operating totally under the radar, digging through technical documentation and peer forums. That means they only actually engage a vendor for the final 39% of the procurement cycle. Traditional broad awareness content completely misses the mark, because these buyers aren't looking for marketing fluff. They want technical validation for their internal models. So the crucial point is, how do we bridge this gap? How do we sync up the reality of the buyer journey and the physics of the grid with our actual marketing spend?
Enter part 4, energy yield attribution explained. This is the new paradigm we've been building toward.
Energy yield attribution is a total game changer. It's a data-driven framework that synchronizes your customer acquisition spend with real-time grid performance and asset-level output. Instead of painting with broad strokes, it integrates independent system operator or ISO pricing signals directly into your attribution models. The goal here is laser-focused. We want to identify and target grid high-value clients.
Let's put the outdated status quo right up against this new future. Traditional marketing ROI simply measures financial input versus output, right? It's a lagging indicator. Energy yield attribution, on the other hand, correlates your marketing spend directly with the technical and financial performance of your actual energy assets. It literally maps marketing conversions to the real financial yield of a power purchase agreement, or PPA. It ensures your pipeline growth perfectly aligns with actual grid profitability.
And this brilliantly illustrates the whole concept.
A lead in a congested ISO node is significantly more valuable than one in a saturated market. That grounds everything we're talking about in physical reality. This is exactly why factoring in locational marginal pricing, the actual price of electricity at a specific grid node at a specific time, from regional operators like PJM Interconnection is absolutely critical. Not all leads are created equal, you know? Their true value is dictated by the physics and congestion of the grid itself.
When you start cross-referencing your marketing leads with physical grid realities, using tools like the US EIA grid maps and syncing up with SCADA systems for real-time monitoring, you completely eliminate what's called the quality gap. You literally stop generating leads in regions where you simply can't service them profitably because of interconnection delays or geographic constraints. By shifting your budget exclusively to grid high-value clients whose demand profiles actually match your asset capabilities, you can reduce your first-year customer acquisition cost by approximately 35%. I mean, that is a massive operational and financial win.
Finally, let's look at Part 5, the implementation framework. Let's make this actionable.
To implement a yield-based dashboard, you need a systematic approach to outright reject vanity metrics. Think of it as a 4-step mental checklist. Step 1 is data ingestion. You absolutely must establish API connections between your CRM systems and real-time ISO or RTO data. Step 2 is metric definition. Pin down your primary optimization metric, whether that's the levelized cost of energy, the spark spread for natural gas profitability, or carbon intensity. Step 3 is attribution mapping. You're going to assign a specific grid value to each lead based on their geographic location. And Step 4, feedback loops. Conduct weekly reviews to assess the variance between the projected value of a lead and how the asset actually performed.
Okay, to summarize this strategic briefing, here is exactly what you need to take away. First, prioritize yield over standard ROI. You've got to shift from lagging indicators to grid-aligned physics. Second, target that critical 61% anonymous research phase by giving buyers the utility-first, technical assets they actually want. Third, eliminate that 9-to-1 valuation trap by reallocating your broad spend into highly targeted channels. And finally, always value locational marginal pricing. The geography and congestion of the grid dictate the true value of your pipeline.
I want to leave you with a final, slightly provocative thought to take back to your teams today. Take a hard look at your current executive dashboard and ask yourself, is your growth actually aligned with grid physics, or are you just chasing vanity metrics? The data is clear, the physical realities of the grid are absolutely undeniable, and energy yield attribution is the bridge between the two. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning the standard models, and I'll catch you next time.